Hello and welcome back to the channel. So today I have for you from Quan Guan this is the BM13, which is apparently the name of the truck that this Katyusha rocket system is based on. Now very much this will be a comparison with the Leyi Katyusha that I did some time ago. So we will do the usual routine, a 60-second speed build, some pics, and then we'll get into the review. Let's crack on and build. So welcome back. Right, Quan Guan. Now one of the things I do like about Quan Guan is, although I've had problems with their builds before, and particularly their quality control, their accuracy is usually pretty spot on. They're one of the most reliable brands I find for accuracy, particularly on the proportions and that type of thing. And this is no different really, but we will come back to that in a second. We'll do the usual thing. This is obviously the instructions. It's a little booklet and it's quite good. No real issues there at all. I think there was one or two places where you might end up scratching your head a little bit, and there is one bit on here in the model itself that again I'll talk about in a minute. But perhaps could have been done better. But these, yeah, they're not bad at all. And in fact, the build overall was pretty good. It was nice and logical. We went through it fairly pain-free, to be honest. Now, there was one piece missing, and I'll mention that one a bit in a second. There was no discoloration and no warpage. Now with the one piece, I have a spare wheel here. Now on this particular model, notice that there are two wheels on each axle on each side of the back there. Now the axle bricks, there is one that is a shorter brick, and there should be four that are the longer to get the double wheel on. I've actually got three of each, so while I do have an axle there, it's obviously on this one with a single tyre, it's not big enough to fit in the double tyre. Now fortunately, unless really you are looking for it or you know it's there, you won't really see it, so we can still do the model and get away with it, so it's not too bad. Now everything fitted together nicely, which is great, and in comparison, and I will be comparing a lot to the Leyi model here, because they're almost identical in size. But they've taken very different approaches. The Leyi was very fragile to start with, but ended up being quite solid. This is solid all the way through. You've got a couple of printed bricks on this. There's no stickers or decals. There were some stickers on here, but they were reasonably well thought out, and they added or complemented rather than took over. And as you can see, they're obviously based on slightly different trucks. Now, one of my not complaints, but one of my slight gripes about the Leyi was that internally in here, if you were posing the minifigures that come with it, the floor space of the cabin of the truck was smooth. There was no seats in there and there was no studs, so any minifigure that you put in there was just rattling around loose. There's no seats in this particular one from Quan Guan, but there are studs in there, so you can actually fit the minifigures in solidly, which is nice. Although the windscreen, again, in comparison to the Leyi one, I think the Leyi windscreen is a lot nicer. That's rather than just the fairly generic cobbled together or standard sort of modernish windscreen that you get on lots and lots of vehicles. And overall, this, as I say, this was really actually quite a nice little build. It was quite simple. It was solid all the way through, unlike the other one from the beginning onwards. Everything went into place really well. The only real issue that I had was with all this mounting for the actual rocket system itself, and it is actually more historically accurate from some of the pictures that you'll have seen up in the corners here than the Leyi one. The Leyi one is sort of almost, they've got it on a sort of a hydraulic sort of ram or something like that, so you can actually move this, which I do think is quite nice. You've got the jacks at the back to keep it from rolling back when it fires. So this will have obviously a fire and a transport position. This one is fixed, and as you can see, there are a lot more legs. There's 9 legs here, and actually that was a gigantic pain in the backside to try and get everything lined up and clipped in, because what was tended to happen was, as you got them lined up, you clipped one in, and then you either had knocked one right out of position, and then you had difficulty getting back because it was now banging on the bit it was supposed to be attached to. It was a real pain to do. Now, also these bits up here, I'm not entirely sure what they are and what purpose they actually serve. I would have thought if anything they get in the way, but they are accurate to historically. They again were quite a bit of a pain in the backside to get in. And as far as the actual rockets go, there is a fair difference between the two different types of rockets, between Leyi and Quan Guan. As you can see, the Leyi ones here are considerably longer than the Quan Guan ones are. Now, the actual rockets for this were about 1 metre long. So, based on the scale, I'd say that these are probably slightly more accurate looking than these, but it is a little marginal. It depends on what sort of scale you're sort of looking at. Both models roll very easily as well. It's difficult to show you, but take my word for it that I can spin those wheels very comfortably, even though I'm obviously, as I say, missing one. There's no problem with that. So, does it come down to price then, the difference between these two? Well, this is the Quan Guan one, and it's the slightly more expensive of the two, coming in at £10.62 landed to the UK. And when I bought the Leyi one, that was £8.99 landed in the UK. So the Leyi one is cheaper than the Quan Guan one, but not by much. You're talking, yeah, sort of £1.63 or something like that. So overall then, which one do I prefer? Well, it's tricky, I have to say, because they're both very good models, and I really liked the Leyi when it came out, partly because it was the first decent Leyi model that I'd actually done. Quan Guan are a lot more consistent, and certainly on the accuracy, as I mentioned, of the models. Sometimes the way you get there, it can be a little bit, and we've had quality control issues with Quan Guan in the past, but in this particular case, it's actually no different from Leyi. There was one minor piece missing from this one, and one piece, let's say, substituted or missing, that you could argue makes no real difference at the end. So, as I say, which one do I prefer? Well, in a strange way, this one probably does edge it over the Leyi model, but in a strange way, I actually prefer the Leyi model. And I keep thinking about this, and I'm not entirely sure why, which is not a lot of help to you guys, I'm sure. I think possibly it just comes down to the colour. I prefer the slightly darker green than this. This is a little bit more rounded as well. But obviously, brick models can be a bit bricky and blocky in shape, which perhaps this one is a little bit more than this one, and so therefore maybe that's the reason I prefer this one over this one. But there's very little difference in it. They're both extremely good models. They're both extremely nice to build. So whichever one of them you get, I think you'll be pretty happy with, to be quite honest with you. So there we go. That is the Quan Guan Katyusha system, with a bit of an update on the Leyi Katyusha system. So hopefully you have enjoyed this video. If you have, please like and subscribe to the channel, and I will catch you again. You take care. Bye bye.